Good evening, and congratulations on your induction in the Teaching Honor Society tonight. My name is Dr. Latoya Dixon, and my colleague, Dr. Michael Wakesons, and I want to share with you why we believe that teaching is one of the greatest professions.
Teachers truly are heroes among us. So one thing we always want to ask is, education and teachers, do they really matter? Does it really make a difference what teachers do? Do they really have the impact that we hope they do? Well, the fact is, yes, they do. They have done, there's plenty of research that shows the impact that a teacher has on a child and their success. Some of the brutal facts that we need to confront is for many, many of our students, their education is a matter of life and death. What do we mean by that exactly? Well, students that attain higher levels of education have much better chances of success at life. And yes, every person defines success differently, but let's look at some of the numbers with poverty. As you would imagine, dropouts earn a lot less money per year than those that have at least a high school diploma, and then also even more so compared to students who have a college diploma as well. So students that do not graduate from high school, they are basically set up for a lifetime of struggle. They're a lot less likely to have a job that offers insurance or a pension plan, and they're a lot more likely to experience health problems. There's a ton of research on this, but you see the link on the bottom of the screen. We'll show you where you can go if you'd like to learn more about some of the stats we're going to talk about. 43% of people with the lowest literacy skills live below the government's official poverty line. So you see how poverty and educational attainment goes hand in hand. Our students who do not do well in school have a much higher chance of being incarcerated. In fact, across the United States, 82% of prison inmates are dropouts. According to the report Literacy Behind Prison Walls, 70% of all prison inmates are functionally illiterate or read below a 4th grade level. So you see how these statistics are completely aligning to what we talked about earlier, how education really is a matter of life and death for our students. 85% of juvenile offenders have reading problems. So interesting when you read statistics like this, is it the literacy problems that lead kids to committing crime? Is it students that are on the path of committing crime? Do they not take school seriously? Whatever the reasoning may be, we do know that lots of juvenile offenders have reading issues. They're not getting the level of educational attainment needed. The average age in youth correctional facilities is 15. The average reading level of these 15-year-olds is the 4th grade. There's a lot of statistics that kind of back up what we're talking about that deals with incarceration and special education. So if you look at the general population of the United States, the incidence of learning disabilities is about 5%. So another way to say that is 5% of the population has a learning disability. However, when you look at the same population and talk about the percentage of students who are learning disabled in the criminal justice system, it's estimated to be as high as 50%. So you see how those numbers do not align. This is another interesting way to look at the data. A study conducted at the University of California, Berkeley, an economist found that a 10% increase in the graduation rate would likely reduce the murder and assault arrest rates by about 20%. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with the methodology that this researcher used, but if you want to learn more, look at the link on the bottom and you can look in more detail at the study. But it does show how graduation rate, at least by this one study, correlates to murder and assault arrest rates. Well, you might be thinking, wow, I thought this was supposed to be a positive message. Well, it is in the sense that what you are about to do when you become a teacher really is a matter of life and death for our students. This is not just a job where you show up and earn a paycheck and go home. This is a job where you will have a direct impact on the success of students throughout their entire lives. Some of your students, the reality is they're probably going to be okay, regardless of what you bring to the table. But for a lot of our students, and more today, what you do as a teacher will directly impact their life. In fact, it will be a matter of life and death for your students.
So here's the great news. Teachers in schools really matter. We want to talk to you today not only about those statistics and how education plays a role in the quality of life for our youngsters beyond their K-12 years, but also about your role as a teacher and how you can be a hero among many students.
So here's a quote from Mike Schmoker, who you might have come across through your studies. But he is talking about in this quote that what you do in school, what teachers do, what schools do, have an impact on achievement. Now, in prior years, there was not a lot of research that showed a direct correlation between the effectiveness or what schools do in student success. But now there is research that points out it does matter what we do. We know it does from maybe a humanistic type standpoint, but there's empirical data now that shows that what we do impacts student achievement. Schools do make a difference. There's a lot of research by Ron Edmonds, Larry Lizette, and more that shows all children can learn, and schools control the factors to assure that students master the core of the curriculum. Now, we know that schools do not control all the factors, and there are a lot of outside factors, but the number one impact on learning is the school. So that's kind of refreshing to know that we do make a difference, but it's also kind of scary because it kind of affirms what we were thinking and shows that what we do as professionals really does have an impact on the students. So exciting, but also kind of scary at the same time. This just shows some more data from Robert Marzano, who we are sure you have heard of. It was an analysis of research conducted over 35 years, so a meta-analysis that shows that schools that are highly effective produce results that almost entirely overcome the effects of student backgrounds. If you have not read What Works in Schools, we highly recommend you check out this research, and he also has a slew of other books. Robert Marzano is someone you'll want to become very familiar with.
So let me tell you about one of my greatest heroes. This is Mrs. West. She was my third grade teacher. And in third grade, Miss West was not the kind of teacher who always made things sunshine and rainbows, but she certainly pushed me to do my very best in everything that I did in her classroom. I can remember the summer after my third grade year. Just before the school year ended, Miss West contacted my mom and asked if I would be able to participate in a Young Writers Conference that was being held at the local university in our hometown. My mother found it difficult to provide transportation for me for this conference, but agreed by having my great aunt take me to the Young Writers Conference being held at Winthrop University each and every day in her Bluebird taxi cab as she was a taxi driver. It was in that moment and in that experience that I learned that Miss West thought I was a terrific reader and a terrific writer. I went on to become an English language arts teacher, and I always attribute that to the experience that Miss West provided for me. She could have looked at my situation and thought, well, LaToya is a student of a single parent. She works. She won't be able to provide transportation. LaToya's mother probably can't afford to pay for someone to take her to the Young Writers Conference. LaToya may feel out of place. The other students there are students of socioeconomic means who will be able to provide payment for their experience and other opportunities. But she looked beyond the obstacles that I faced and provided me with an opportunity that literally changed my life. This is the first happy note that Miss West sent to me. It was in October of 1985. She says that I add sunshine to her classroom. Now, I know that I was a good student, but I also know that I could cause a lot of laughter from time to time. But she went on to say that, I was such a joy and that my mother would be pleased with my report card. Little did I know that would be the first, but certainly not the last happy note I received from Miss West throughout my life. When I graduated from high school, there was a card and a gift. When I graduated from college, there was another card and a gift and a story that I'd written in the 3rd grade. When I went on to earn my master's degree, I bet you wouldn't believe it, but there was a card and a gift. When I became a principal on the first day on the job as a principal of an elementary school, I received a bonsai tree and a card and a gift. Miss West has always made it a point to show that she believes in me, she's proud of me, and she expects great things from me. For the simple cost of a postage stamp and a card, her impact has gone well beyond my 3rd grade year. So when I started my new job at Knox Middle School as co-principal and transformational leader, apparently Miss West thought I needed a few words of encouragement. So in the mail, she sent me a small Circe. It was Christopher Robin's quote to Pooh. She used to always tell me, "Who is the smartest girl in the room?" And I'd always look at her and say, "Well, I don't know." And she'd always say, "You. You're very special." And I still believe that. I always know that if no one else is pulling for me, encouraging me, cheering for me, I know Miss West is. She's always watching. And so along with the trinket, she sent this card. Dear Latoya, this bit of advice that Christopher Robin gave to Pooh is worth sharing. I send it on to you as you begin a new school year in a new place. It will be full of adventure and challenge, and I know you'll do well. Positive thoughts and love, Janet. So my question for you is, how will you be remembered? Will you be the Miss West for your students? Is it possible you could have an impact that lasts a lifetime on your students? Absolutely. Again, on behalf of my colleague, Dr. Michael Wakesness, we'd like to congratulate you not only on your induction into the Honor Society, but also on your decision to become a part of one of the most noble teaching professions of all time. You have the power to make a difference. Go forth and do just that.